Um, there's been a lot of interesting changes in YouTube. Not really changes, but things happen, events. And I don't know if you've heard anything about the August 10th freak out on YouTube when all of a sudden everybody's views suddenly took a deep spike. And apparently nobody was watching their videos, their entire catalog of videos, all at once. And people started freaking out, and somebody reached out to the partner program representative on YouTube, at YouTube, and that person said, it's not our fault, we didn't change anything. And yet, YouTubers all across YouTube were all reporting the same thing on August 10th. Finally, somebody posted that their partner program person said, that other person was right. YouTube itself didn't change anything. The statistics reporting that counts views just simply didn't report all the views to YouTube for analysis. It was actually excluding views from desktop computers that have ad blockers. And so all of a sudden YouTube's analysis was based on smaller data. Because all of a sudden, and this is still YouTube's fault, because this is part of their ongoing war against ad blockers. And yeah, basically now their effort is to make it the creator's problem that they aren't getting views. Because if your viewers are using ad blockers, we're going to punish you and not the people using ad blockers. So basically it makes the YouTubers have to tell people, stop using ad blockers when you watch my videos, because people like Mudahar say, I don't care, go ahead. Because he defends the use of ad blockers. For him, if I remember, I think he always said that it was a means of vital safety on the internet, that not using an ad blocker on anywhere on the internet puts you at significant risk. So therefore, turning off your ad blockers is putting you at risk. It's kind of like going to sea without life jackets, because life jackets hinder your movement. But if the boat capsizes, you're gonna fucking drown if you're not wearing a life jacket. So doing what the corporation says is putting you at greater risk. That's my analysis of that situation. But anyway, I just wanted to explain that real quick, because a conversation I had with my wife yesterday, we were talking about how back in the heyday of TV, they used to have a thing called Nielsen ratings, where there were about like 1,000 families across America that they would survey on a regular basis to see what they were watching on TV. And they would base their ratings of each show on what the Nielsen families were watching. And that would determine how they would decide which shows would continue to be have new seasons, or what shows would get in the prime time spots and stuff like that. But the thing that nobody talks about is the fact that you're basing the viewing habits of millions of people on the behaviors of only 1,000, assuming that the other millions of people are behaving exactly like these 1,000. And there's a statistical study that proves that that's just not the case. So the Nielsen rating system was fundamentally flawed in its logic, the sampling size being smaller than the crowd. And radio things, I always used to complain about turning on to a radio station and having them do their jingle where they talk about they're always playing your hits, your favorite songs. And I'd look at them and say, I'm sorry, those aren't my favorites. Why do you call it my favorites when I don't even like those songs? Like if you turn on the radio and it happens to be on a station and a type of music you like if you're a rap fan and you happen to turn it on to a country western station and they say, we play your favorite hits, you can like, I don't like that style of music. What makes those my favorites? That's just accidental. But the fact is, the matter, the DJ is talking to his audience or her audience of people who do like those songs. They're not talking to you. But again, you know, with radios, they used to do radio surveys where they would, you know, contract random people to talk about their listening habits on the radio, and they would base their assessment of what's popular on the radio on these survey respondents. Again, it's like a Nielsen rating thing. You're talking to a very small portion of the population and basing the delivery to millions of people on those very small numbers of people. And my wife got me into one of those surveys, and the first thing they asked me was, what stations do I listen to on the radio? And I said, I don't even listen to the radio. And the survey person said, well, surely you're around people who listen to the radio. What stations are they listening to when you're around them? So basically, they didn't want my opinion. They wanted the opinion of what the people around me who do listen to the radio wanted to listen to. So I told them at the time I was working in a computer room with a bunch of Vietnamese guys, and they used to listen to all these Vietnamese stations on the AM band that played songs from Vietnam. Nothing even remotely related to popular music, not even related to music I listen to. And then I started to rattle off my favorite songs. And he said, wait, how am I supposed to do this? Your listening habits have nothing to do with your taste. Oh my goodness, the survey responses are all wrong. So that was my experience with radio surveys. But anyway, so nowadays though, the Billboard Top 100 recorder of the hits on the radio and the popular songs bases their decisions on YouTube and Spotify views and listens. That's not a sampling. That's literally a count of every person who uses Spotify and YouTube. What songs do they listen to? What songs do they play? What videos do they play? But there's a problem with that Spotify and YouTube have both figured out how to filter the views that they consider bot-like out so that they can get what they call the real views, the real listens. The only trouble is that for fans of a particular band or of a particular artist who, like if you have a favorite song that just came out and it's amazing and wonderful, what happens? You tend to listen to it repeatedly. Unfortunately, that's bot-like behavior, so they just rule out your excessive views. They report that when you listen to a song 5 times in a row, you only listen to it once. So they're filtering down the views of what's really popular in order to say how many people are listening to it instead of how many times is one person listening to it. Not how good it is, but how many people think it's good. I think that's what their logic is, and it sort of works, but it's still a little bit ham-baked. But anyway, so let me get to the point. I didn't do a 5th anniversary video for my channel back in August, partly because of the August 10th fiasco, but also because Samsung just did a security update on their phones. And I don't know if you've noticed, I'm not a monetized channel. I don't have a Patreon account. Here's my Patreon. I don't have a Ko-Fi account. Don't buy me a cup of coffee because I don't have an account there. So I don't do this for money. I have a day job. I work for a corporation. So this is a hobby. And I film my videos on my phone. And then I go to my computer and I plug a USB cable up to my phone and upload the video to my computer and pull it into a cheap-ass editor where I do all the post-production stuff, put in the overlays, do the dialogue overlays, do whatever special effects, do the editing out my coughing because my throat gets dry, stuff like that. Speaking of dryness. Anyway, so apparently sometime in June or July, this security update from Samsung decided that for my safety, my phone would no longer allow data to be transferred on a USB cable. I'm sorry, that's how I make YouTube videos. So literally I could film a video on my phone and, oh sure, I could just upload it to YouTube directly on my phone, but that would be without any of the editing out of, none of the overlays, none of the chopping out my coughing. That would just be horrible because my channel thrives on editing. But Yeah, I just didn't do one because I couldn't figure out how to get my phone to transfer the video to my computer to edit it. So I ended up not doing it. Thanks, Samsung. Speaking of Samsung, as long as we're trashing Samsung, they're just trying a pilot program to sell a bunch of refrigerators that have ads on them when they're not being used. Talk about invasive. Every time you go in the kitchen to cook or to get a snack or something, your refrigerator would be talking to you. No peace and quiet anywhere in the house. So, no, there needs to be an aftermarket product, an ad blocker for refrigerators now. Yes, ad blocker for refrigerators. You heard me right. Okay, so enough of my rant. I just wanted to get on here and tell you this is why I didn't do a video for my anniversary, because the Samsung security thing messed with me. So essentially now I'm celebrating my 5th anniversary, a month late. Yes, I've been doing YouTube videos for 5 years, and I was thinking about doing a channel performance overview like I did back in, I think it was 2023. Because I've made such a change in my channel since then. But then I looked at it and I thought, you know what, no. I think we're all kind of unsurprised at what the response would be. So I decided not to do that. I thought it was interesting to do back then because I thought no one else on YouTube had done that, to show off the charts of this is how this video performed and this is when the views fell off. And to show there's a spike in the views here in a like on the production report story read-through, I noticed there was a big spike in it at a particular point. And I looked at my Facebook wall and I said, oh, it's because I mentioned the timestamps in a post on Facebook, and I said, here, check this part out. And so everybody who went to the video would go specifically to that point, and so there was a spike in viewership right there. And I was able to report on that. And I thought, nobody else does that. Just literally sits down with a picture of every single video, or at least not every video, but the significant ones, and says, look at this chart of viewership and see how people are viewing it. Nobody else does that. But I decided not to do it a second time because I really didn't think I wanted to be disappointed in my channel's performance. You know, back when I did it the first time, it felt kind of surprising and reassuring to know that that drop in viewership right after the beginning of the video was not because people immediately found out how bad I sucked at YouTubing. It was because, like, you know, when you scroll through YouTube on your phone, when you stop and, you know, glance at a title or whatever, the video autoplays. And if you don't want to watch it, you just start scrolling past it. Well, that's an abandoned view after like half a second, which accounts for that drop in views. So that's not necessarily people watching your video and deciding that you suck or that they don't like you. It's just people deciding not to watch your video after YouTube decided to autoplay it for them. So I started to realize that yes, that drop was accidental. It wasn't anything about my performance. Because I compared it to my No One at the Bridge video, that I thought that video does well. People tend to watch it all the way through because Alex Lifeson's great guitar solo at the end is almost entirely the thing they came for. So they go through the whole video just to get to that. And I looked at that one and it's like, it had that same drop and then it stayed at like 35% all the way through. So then I looked at my videos and I said, well, my videos, the good ones, don't stray below 35% very much. So actually people who were watching my videos were actually watching them almost all the way through. So that was very reassuring to me. But with the AI avatar change in my channel, I thought, no, I really don't want to start looking at those too close because I think the viewership actually does drop off when people start saying, oh, yuck. Especially on the ones where I had done them to show off how bad the AI thing is. Because people would say, yes, he's right, they suck. Or they're wrong, you know, weirdly messed up. My favorite one is the technocrat one. The assumptions forget what it's called now. Assumptions in something or other. Anyway, so what about that lady in the white sweater wearing glasses that was talking about product reviews and people advertising tech products, like apps that allow you to make reservations for air flights and make reservations at restaurants and stuff like that. And I'm going like, dude, most Americans can't afford to eat at restaurants that you have to make reservations for. Most Americans can't afford to fly. We don't need apps that do that. So, but anyway, the thing that I wanted to comment about that video, that I did comment in my first comment on the video, was the fact that after like 26 seconds, the avatar blinks in reverse. And it was really creepy looking, and I thought, oh, wow. And that's one of the things that I get frustrated by with the AI avatar thing, is that you can't tell what the presentation is going to look like until after you've exported it. And I would tend to write my scripts based on the idea of I know what this is going to look like, so I'm going to make fun of certain aspects of it, or I'm going to praise certain aspects of it that I expect to happen. And then I export it, and those things either don't happen, so my praise falls flat, or the failures sneak out on me by surprise, and you're like, oh my god, what the hell was that? Or the things that I complain about ended up having gotten fixed, and my complaints are like, nope, that's wrong, that got fixed. Like, for example, my Jenny character, here's a picture of her when I first introduced her. Notice she's got this real pouty lips and a not very happy expression, just kind of a somber, resting bitch face, if you will. And then this is the latest video that I did of her. They fixed her teeth because I had complained about that. And apparently the people at Agent actually do watch my videos, because I complained about her teeth looking like a 48 Buick, and then the next time I used her, her teeth were perfect. She was smiling in order to show off how perfect her teeth were, and that they stayed perfect all the time. I'm like, but now she's smiling. What happened to the resting bitch face? So, my criticism of her teeth thing fell flat on that video because her teeth had gotten fixed. I didn't know that until after I exported it. But anyway, that's what happened with that. Poor Jenny. I'm almost tempted to go back to the original one and just say, does it mess up with the original Jenny? Because I think I got Jenny from the Hayden website originally. So she should still be an avatar available there. I may want to try that anyway. But just to have a little bit of fun, here is a moment of excessive editing in order to foul up the unskippable ads that I hope would be placed in the middle of my edit frenzy. Of sometimes being chopped mid-word and a different place and looking off in a different direction, and horrible cries of cats in the rooms that don't want to be locked up. So yeah, that is my video. Consider this technically my 5th anniversary video. It's a month late, but still, 5th anniversary. Everybody celebrate with me. Crickets. Yeah.